Hello my dudes, this is Kadima with another build video, this time for Lords of the Fallen version 2023. Now this is the first build video for this game. There will be more surely coming in the future. There will also be a review video on the game, which will be happen soon enough as well. But for now, let's talk about the most broken and absurd build in this game. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to showcase the build being used against in-game enemies because I am just about to start New Game Plus. I killed everything that matters in the game, but I will be showcasing it against other players while doing invasions. The reason why I want to do it that way anyway is to showcase how stupid this broken build is. Now, the amount of damage that this does shouldn't be allowed. The game shouldn't allow to do this much damage with just one spell or just one or two attacks. And you are going to see as an example how well this build works even against in-game enemies, and I will showcase it against that guy that is just behind me, which most of you probably have killed 100 times by now. But I'll also and mostly be showcasing against other players while doing invasions. But enough chit chat, let's go to the build itself. And here we are. I'm using dual wielding Pieta's sword +5, as you can tell, and I'm using the runes that allow me to scale it, increase the scaling with radiance. I'm going to point out exactly which runes I am talking about. It's these ones right here. Oriman, increase radiance attribute scaling. I have 3 on each sword, and this means that my swords end up scaling up to A-, both of them. As for my casting catalyst, I'm using the Exactor's Scripture +10, which also scales S with radiance. For my spells, I'm using Blessed Reflections. This spell is just ridiculous. It shouldn't be allowed, or at least it shouldn't work the way it is working since release, and I believe strongly that it needs a major patch and a major fix, but I will go into it in more detail in a minute. For my heals, I'm using Healing Sigil. I got Radiance Weapon because, I don't know if you were aware of this, but despite the fact that Pieta's swords are already pretty much a beam of holy and radiance damage, you can actually apply Radiant Weapon to both of them. All you have to do is cast Radiant Weapon and both of them will be further buffed with Radiance, doing an absurd amount of damage. But don't worry, there are more ways to make that amount of damage even more ridiculous. I'm about to speak about that in a minute. As for my Piercing Light spell, this is mostly because sometimes I hit a player and he just runs away from me trying to heal. I cast Piercing Light and he's dead. You are going to see that in the examples I'm going to show as well. And as for my last spell, I got Lucent Beam. I have actually never used this so far. It's just here because I got a slot that I can potentially fill with something, and I decided to put this one. As for my armor, I'm using the Ardent Penitent Head Cage, the Sovereign Protector Armor for the chest piece, the Tancred's Gauntlets, and the Sovereign Protector Leggings. Now, most of these, with exception for the Gauntlets, have high physical damage mitigation and high holy mitigation. The reason for this choice is because I'm fighting players and doing invasions. 99% of the players I invade are also using Pieta's sword. So by having high holy damage mitigation, I am actually quite tanky against their swords. As in, let's be honest, most people don't really pay attention to the damage mitigation on the armor sets they are using. They are going with what they like in terms of looks, and that's great. But for the purposes of being effective, I went with what the highest damage mitigation for what most people are using, which happens to be physical, but above all holy, because 99% of the players I invade are using Pieta's sword. Unfortunately for them, I'm using 2 of them. and they are both +5, and they are both fully ruined, and you will see the difference in damage. Now, for my pendant, I'm using the Empyrean pendant, the reason being quite obvious. This increases holy damage and holy defense. Now, not only I will be doing more damage compared to other players that do not have the Empyrean pendant, but also I will receive less damage because their Pieta's sword is going to do reduced damage. Now, I'm using the Mine Owner's Ring, which is for obvious reasons. I like the increased maximum stamina and the stamina regeneration rate. That's a must for this build. And the Puissant Root, which increases the power of sorceries. Now, let's talk about the sorceries. Now, when I cast Piercing Light with my Exeter Scripture, which scales S with Radiance, one cast of Piercing Light does around 500 to 600 damage. You think that's high? It is quite high, isn't it? But when I cast Blessed Reflections, and the Blessed Reflections, the duplicates of Pieta, they do one of two things. They either jump in the air and smash the ground with their swords, doing a bit of an AoE effect, which is actually quite high, and does about 600 damage. Most times what they do is that they kneel and they cast a beam of holy light. Now, if any player gets hit by both beams at the same time, it does around 1100 to 1200 damage, and considering I'm level 110 and most players I invade will be around the same level, that means one shot. Yes, they get killed instantly by the Blessed Reflections. Now, if this wasn't bad enough as it is, and let's agree, it is already bad enough as it is, because having a spell that allows me to one-shot everyone, it's broken. Let's be honest, it is stupidly broken. But, to make matters worse, the beam of light that comes from the duplicates of Pieta, it goes through walls. It goes through anything that is in your way. As long as you cast the spell while being locked onto your target, it's just going to go through everything. Sometimes I'm fighting players and I cast the Blessed Reflections and they go and try to hide behind a wall. It doesn't work, buddy. You are going to get hit because this spell is broken. Not only it does stupid amounts of damage, it goes through walls, and it shouldn't do that. It shouldn't work like that. Funny fact though, if you cast the Lucent Beam, and I played a guy that was casting the Lucent Beam against me, it doesn't go through the wall. It doesn't work the same way. So it just happens to be that Blessed Reflections is that broken. No other spells do that. This doesn't go through walls, but this does. The Pieta duplicates go through walls and they one-shot people. Amazing spell. But, yay, that's me being ironical. I'm using it. So, I'm using it for a reason. I'm using it because I want to showcase how broken this build is. And this is the #1 reason. Now, #2 reason. Why is this build so broken? Pieta's swords. Come on, 99% of you guys that are watching this video probably, if you are playing the game, are also using Pieta's sword, aren't you? And that's fine, I have no problem with other people using Pieta's sword. I'm using 2 of them, so that just goes to show that I like the weapon as well. But let me just show what happens when I hit this guy with my Pieta's sword. So if I do a charged R2, this is what happens. Yes, he just dies instantly. And this was unbuffed. Unbuffed. How much damage was it? Let's do it again, just for the purposes of this build, of this video. Right, we remove his defense, we do a charge R2, and 928 damage. Correct? 928 damage. It's a stupid amount of damage, isn't it? But what if we were to blast the weapon with more Radiant, and then we remove his shield, and then we do the charged R2, 1304, because that's normal. It is normal that I can buff a weapon with Radiance and Holy when the weapon itself is already a beam of holy light. Wow, very careful design right there from the developers. I, well, I'm using the weapons, so again, I like them, but I like them because they are broken. This shouldn't exist. Let me show what happens when I do a running R1 against this guy. Goodbye! 422 damage from a running attack. Yes, one running attack, 422 damage. Now, let me show you again, guys, because I really want to showcase how stupid this is. Now, I'm gonna buff my weapon again, put the radiant on it, I get the spell, I take his defense. Now, 1, 2. Oh, actually he hit me. 2. Did you see? That was just an R1. The first R1 took 90% of his HP away, straight away. Straight away. I hit the guy once, and it does... How much damage was it? It's absurd. It shouldn't be that much. Right, no, again, boom, boom. And this was without the buff. So without the buff, half of his HP is gone. So... yeah, try to convince me this is not broken. In any case, the number one reason, and going back to the Blessed Reflections, is this spell needs to be fixed. It shouldn't go through walls. It's completely broken, and I am going to showcase a lot of my invasions for you guys to understand how broken this is, and you are going to see a lot of players dying against me because they thought they were safe. You can see that they actually saw me casting the Blessed Reflections and they tried to hide behind the wall. And they didn't try to dodge or anything because, come on, let's be realistic. I'm hiding behind a wall. Why should I be hit by a spell? And then they find out that... unfortunately, this does go through walls. And I mean, it will go through a building if there's a building in the way. But hey, I didn't design the game, I'm just playing it. Another thing I want to mention is this, for those who are not aware. I am 100% against dumping items. I don't agree with what most players are doing out there, which is you ask your friend to drop you a lot of items, and then you just do the duplication glitch or exploit, whatever you want to call it, and everybody ends up having all the weapons and all the armors and all the attributes, and they level up to max level without even playing the game legitimately. I mean, if you are doing that solo, I have nothing against it. But this is an online game. Unless you play it completely solo, you shouldn't be doing that. Because, come on, if you are doing that and you are putting yourself at max level and then you are still having a friend helping you with co-op, honestly, maybe you should consider not playing this game. But hey, that's just my opinion. Now, one thing I want to explain is that I have seen a lot of people complaining, I would like to have 2 Pieta's sword, but I am against duplication. Well, so am I. But in case you didn't know, my friend, is you can actually buy boss weapons from the merchant that sells them more than once. So all you have to do is you buy Pieta's sword, you teleport to a different location, you go back to Skybridge, you go back to the NPC that sells the sword, and voila, it's there for you to buy it again. It's that easy. In any case, thank you all so much for watching so far. Let's go to those PvP invasions examples and to showcasing how broken the build actually is. For those of you who made it this far, stick around for some examples of how broken this build truly is. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you haven't subscribed just yet, please consider doing so. I really appreciate everybody's support. It motivates me to keep on making videos, and I appreciate you all for doing it. And I'll be doing a giveaway once I reach 2,500 subscribers. I am not that far away. I think we are about 2,260 maybe. Something like that. I don't really pay attention, but as soon as I reach 2,500, I'll do another giveaway. Thank you all so much for watching, and stick around for the examples of PvP fights. So here we go. Example number 1. I am actually invading this guy, X1 Pyro. I buff my weapon with Radiance, I heal myself, and then I consume something to regen my mana. But funny enough, this is the only guy I invaded so far That was actually with defense against holy. You see his yellow glow? That means he actually consumed something to increase his resistance to holy damage. But even with the increased resistance to holy damage, did you notice that a simple R1 did 200 and something damage? Curious, isn't it? It does make you wonder how much damage a normal attack would do if he didn't have the buff. Now, did you also notice that he only got hit by one of the beams and it still did 600 damage? Now, did you notice that my R1 actually did only 80 damage, and then he got hit by both and he survived? He actually only took 600 damage from the holy beam from Pieta's duplicates. That means that the holy resistance actually works. But unfortunately, while he was healing, I decided to cast Piercing Light and he lost. Example number 2, and I actually find this one funny because the guy that I invaded, his nickname is "You Mad? Quit Bro," and I have a feeling that after what I've done to him, he was probably the one being mad about the whole thing. Now, as usual, I invade, I buff my weapon with Radiant Weapon, I heal myself, and then I consume items to regen my mana. The reason being, I want to cast the Pieta duplicates with the Blessings spell, and through walls, goodbye. So his friend was actually one shot by the Blessings. Isn't that funny? I could have killed him straight away, but I decided I actually want this guy to see how he's going to die. So he clearly saw me. I allowed him to kill that guy. But then I thought, well, let's not prolong his suffering. And goodbye. This is not broken at all, is it? Well, well, well. I guess it's okay. Next example. Now, here it is. Radiant Weapon cast. I heal myself. By mistake I did it twice. And then I use the mana stones to regen my mana. Now, this is actually one of my favorites because I was invading 2 guys. But I actually only got to fight one of them. And as soon as the fight started, he lost a chunk of health to one of the beams from the duplicates. Only one of them actually hit. Did you see one R1 doing 500 damage? Oh yes, in case you're wondering what he's doing, he's spamming the L1 button to try to parry me. Yes, some people fight like that when they do PvP. Look at him. He's actually attacking me now, but the moment I attack him, he's spamming the L1 to try to get the parry. Look. So I thought to myself, really, my friend, so you want to play like that? Alright, why don't you try to parry them blessings? Try to parry Pietra's duplicates and see what happens. Well, he actually probably got a bit triggered about it, so I just casted that and I did 1097 damage with one hit. Next example, we are going to be fighting 2 guys again. I cast Radiant Weapon as usual, I heal myself, and I regen my mana. I was invading a lot in this area for whatever reason, and there he is. But this time, both of them are here. Can you tell that the guy is behind the wall? And he also casted that against me. But because of my holy defense, I didn't die. His friend did. Now, with his friend dead, I decided to focus my attention on him. He casted the blessings again, but I did dodge, and I one-shot him with a simple running R1. Now, he comes back to life. I cast 1 radiant. He casts the duplicates again, but I dodge. And then I cast them myself, And I guess he just wasn't aware that they go through walls, was he? GG, brother, but my radiants are better than yours. Next guy, I'm fighting Bellow 2201. Now, as soon as I invade him, I can tell where he is because he was fighting some mobs. I buff my weapon as usual, I approach, and there he is. And what is he using? A big ass sword. That's fine. I tried to cast this, he actually missed. And I don't know if you guys can tell why is it that I missed. I had a feeling it was because it was quite laggy. And then I tried to roll and I got hit. So I felt like the connection wasn't great. So I had to time my rolls better, and as you can see, he completely missed me. His weapon was nowhere near me and it still did the damage. So connection wasn't great here, but that's an issue I will address in a different video. Unfortunately for him, one of my duplicates did hit him and he took 1028 damage. Now, I'm not sure if he was just in a rush, but he didn't realize that I had cast another one and he died straight away. Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to hurt. Now, in this particular occasion, fighting two people again, not a problem. We buff the weapon with Radiant, consume the mana regen, heal ourselves, and here we go. Unfortunately, this area can be particularly upsetting because of this problem right here. You can't make it past the enemies unless you actually hit the enemies, and you can hit them with Pietra's duplicates because for whatever reason they do damage to whatever they hit. Let me make this very clear because I actually forgot to mention during the building explanation. You can get hit by your own casting of the blessings. Your own duplicates can kill you. Just be aware of it. And there you go. A simple radiant piercing light and my friend was dead. On to the next one. This guy invading Blitzburg and Mr. Wizard. Now, 2 versus me. Oh, I should be incredibly scared. But I'm not. I am not because I'm using the most broken thing that exists in this game. Oh, there's a wall. Oh, don't mind the wall. You're dead. Yes, because this thing goes through the wall for whatever reason, my friend. But I don't know. Maybe he didn't realize that his friend was dead. But there he was. He was trying to hide behind the tree, and it doesn't help, brother, because these things go through walls. GG. GG. I guess you guys are starting to understand why I say this build is broken, especially for PvP. But be assured that this thing works just as great against in-game enemies. It just does just exactly the same. But I think this is my favorite example of how bullshit this is. So that guy is hiding behind the wall, right? He's behind the wall. The duplicates shouldn't be able to hit him, but they do, because for whatever reason the developers thought it should go through walls. Now, unfortunately, for some reason, I did cast the second set of duplicates without being locked on. So I had to approach him. As you can see, he's pretty much doing no damage to me. Did you see the amount of damage that he did? But here I go. I cast again, I was locked, and goodbye. And this is fair. This is absolutely fair. It is normal to kill other players like this in video games. Now, on to this one. Harrison was here. This is actually a funny one because it's so quick. Look, he doesn't even know what hit him. It goes through the floor, man. Through the floor. How is this possible? GG, buddy. Legit way to die. Anyway, now fighting Mark A. Schneider. Now, I buff the weapon as usual. I heal myself. I regen some mana, and I start hunting my prey. And I start hunting my prey because I'm using a legit build which is fair to use. I mean, when I say legit, if you think about it, it actually is legit. That's the problem, is that you can legitimately do this in the game. I don't have to duplicate anything. I didn't require anyone to dump me any items. I just can naturally do this. And I can one-shot a guy with a spell. So did you notice that he actually died to the smash attack, not the beams? But then I attack him with a single R1 and I do 482 damage. And then I attack him for another R1 and he dies. Now the next one is actually one of my favorites, and it's one of my favorites for a very simple reason. I invade this group of people and the host is Elite Bad Snake, while his co-op summon friend is Psycho Ninja. Now you are going to notice that for whatever reason my blessings do not kill the ninja guy. Look. And why do you think that is? There's a reason, is that guy is clearly over-leveled compared to us. Clearly, he's 100% item duplicator kind of guy. I assure you that he did not get to whatever level he is by playing the game. He's just, you see, you can tell when people are item duplicators because of the way they play. You can tell because their builds are going to be stupidly OP, but then they can't play the game properly. You see, the moment I casted my blessings a second time, he was dead. And that's it, because he doesn't even know how to dodge it. He just knows how to smash stuff with R1. And the same goes for his friend. You see, they can't even dodge this spell properly because they dump items, they max level their characters from the start, and then they just smash everything. But then they get hit once against another player and they're dead. GG, buddies. Now, next one, Vampire 3x6 or whatever it looks like. And by the way, guys, this will be the last PvP example for this video. Thank you all for those who made it this far. But I want you to notice particularly about this video is, yes, I'm being a bit of an asshole. I'm doing a bit of slow walking to intimidate my opponent. But I want you to notice the actual damage of the swords. You ready? You ready? There you go. 305 and then he's dead. Although this guy could clearly use some points in vitality. But then, again, I'm trying to cast the spell, and as you can see, for whatever reason, my spell is not going. This game is so bugged, it's unreal. But then, there you go, blessings for the kill, and this is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio!